It's the day after Christmas. New Year's is coming up. The holiday season's kind of coming to an end. There's a lot of people who slipped up on their dietary choices the last few days. So how do you get back on track with a ketogenic or a carnivorous diet after slipping up? After having a cheat meal? Whatever you want to call it. Right? It's over the years I've kind of steered away from promoting or even using the word cheat meal. Right? We don't want to cheat ourselves. We don't want to lie to ourselves. So be honest about what happened. Right? You ate some food that wasn't within your dietary structure that you think is ideal for you right now. No big deal. The world's not over. You might have gained a few pounds of water weight. You might feel a little bit crappy. You might have a little bit of brain fog. You might have a little bit of fatigue. Shoot, some of those old nagging symptoms that you used to experience may be coming back. You know, if you've got autoimmune type conditions, gut dysbiosis, you might have majorly thrown off how you feel. But don't despair. Everything's okay. You gotta just get back on track. Now, a lot of people will tend to want to flagellate themselves, kind of punish themselves for this slip up. Right? You had some cookies, you had some cake, grandma made some pie. Why aren't you eating my pie? Okay, I'll eat the pie. Right? It might have happened once, it might have happened twice, it might have happened every single day for the last week. Who knows? But you're not going to get back on track by starving yourself and doing extended fasting, right? Doing a 2 or 3 day fast to cleanse yourself. For most people, it's not the greatest idea. Especially people who have high stress. Right? If you work nights, extended fasting might not be a good idea for your circadian rhythm. And after eating a heavy bolus of carbohydrates after you haven't had carbs for a long time, starving yourself the next day does not feel very good. So what I recommend you do, if you've been on a ketogenic style diet or a carnivore diet, if you slipped up, you ate a bunch of cake, you ate the bread, you had the pudding, you had all the crap that you normally don't eat, just go right back to your plan. Eat the fatty cuts of meat. Fill up on the proteins and the fats. If you eat vegetables, have some vegetables, but it might even be a good idea, if you've been doing a ketogenic diet, to try a few days of a carnivorous style diet, where you're eating meat to satiety, not even necessarily restricting your calories or counting your macros. Fill up on the steaks, and you're going to forget about the craving for the cakes. Right? When we throw a bunch of carbohydrates in, the body ravenously consumes them. Carbohydrates are seasonally available foods that are not available in great quantities, but for a few months of the year, very short periods of time, and they're highly perishable. So when carbohydrates are available, we eat them up. We feel ravenous, we feel hungry. When carbohydrates are available in great abundance, it's a time when we put on weight. For these future periods during the year, like winter and fall, when we're not going to have a lot of availability of food, so we store some fat when those carbs are available. Carbs are great for building muscle, great for putting on body weight, great for putting on fat. But if you haven't eaten them for a long time, you might feel like crap. So try to starve yourself, prostrate yourself in front of the gods of intermittent fasting. Oh, I'm so sorry. Not going to really help most people. Don't beat yourself up. Don't feel guilty. If you do resistance training, you could use this as an opportunity to maybe add some muscle mass, right? Get an intense glycogen depleting workout in. You could do some HIIT training. But if you've never done HIIT training, high intensity interval training, don't just go do a bunch of hill sprints if you haven't sprinted in years, right? You can get majorly injured. What's really important is the mental aspect of this. More important than the physical is the mental. Right, so take note of what happens. Take note of the triggers that sent you spiraling out of control, if that's what happened. And if that's not what happened, if you just made a conscious decision to have some cake, to enjoy a meal that was off-plan with your friends and family and the ones you love, if that's what happened, then you got nothing really to feel guilty about. There was no battle of the wills. You made a decision. Regardless of if that decision was strained by your mental battle, right? But regardless if you had a straining mental battle that drained you of your will and then resulted in you giving in to the war of attrition of those carbohydrates calling to you, or if you just made a conscious decision and said, screw it, I'm gonna have some. Regardless, don't feel guilty. Don't beat yourself up. You don't have to feel bad about it. You just get right back on track. And after a couple of days, you're going to feel good again. Alright, so if you want to build some muscle, you might want to use this time to, perhaps, if it lines up with your training, try to hit some new PRs. If it's nice weather outside, you want to go for an intense walk or do some hill sprints, you might have a little bit extra glycogen storage. You might have a great workout. So that can help you get back into that fat burning mode. But remember, there's no rush. If you're not measuring ketones in your blood, it really doesn't mean freaking anything. Right? If you're chasing ketones, first of all, you should reconsider. And perhaps save some of that money that you're spending on the ketones and buy yourself a nice grass-fed steak. Right? Measuring your dang blood ketones all the time really doesn't tell you much of anything about your metabolic health, about your progress, about your fat loss. Doesn't tell you much at all. Now, if you stepped on the scale in the morning and you notice you're 3 or 4 pounds heavier, don't worry, it's just water weight. It's impossible that from a couple of meals of overeating and of increasing carbohydrate intake that you suddenly stored 10 pounds of fat. Right? No. It's water. Your body's holding on to that water. You may be super compensated glycogen stores if you haven't eaten carbohydrates in a long time. So you might feel jacked. Right? If you're used to working out resistance training, your muscles might feel more full. Use that to your advantage. If the scale has gone up, don't worry. That water weight will go down once you get back on track. So just a few thoughts on how to get back on track after holiday slip-ups. Don't beat yourself up. Don't make your diet into a freaking religion. Enjoy what you eat. Eat what works for you. Eat the steaks, fill up on those steaks, and you're not going to care about the damn cakes. So anyways, you can find more at primaledgehealth.com. There's a link down in the description for our next Keto and Carnivore Collective, which is starting in a couple weeks. I believe that's going to be on January 6th. We start our next Keto and Carnivore Collective. It's our group community coaching where you have not only access to your coaches, Jessica and I, and we give you a solid foundation of information and resources and live interactive voice chats. 2 times per week, live interactive voice chats. One of those is a lesson where we lay out the foundation of information that you need to do this long term. Whether it's a high-fat ketogenic diet that might include some plant foods, or a carnivorous-style ketogenic diet where you're eating from the animal kingdom. Our goal is to equip you with the knowledge necessary for you to do this long term, you to stick to it long term. So that's starting next week, I think, actually. I believe that's, no, about 2 weeks from now, January 6th, because today's the 26th. We're excited for that one. We've already had a lot of interest in the January Keto Collective. I think there's preemptive interest by people knowing that they're going to mess up on the holidays or knowing that they're going to be coming up to their New Year's resolutions and trying to make changes in their life and their lifestyle habits around food. So essentially, we're here to help you create a solid foundation of habits that you can maintain long term. Short-term diets are long-term failures. So we focus on nutrient-dense, animal-based foods. If you're going to eat the plants, but realize they're not necessary. And the next Keto and Carnivore Collective is going to be really fun, good group of people. Not only do you have full access to us, but you also have a community coaching setting where you're able to support each other, learn from each other's experiences, and talk to each other during this month-long coaching course, which is really fun. So the December Keto and Carnivore Collective is going to be wrapping up in the next couple weeks. It's been a really fun ride. A lot of really good people in this one. Much more interest in carnivory. Every single month, we're finding that more people are interested in an animal-based diet. More people are realizing that they may be sensitive to some of these plant toxins, some of these anti-nutrients in plants. Things like oxalates, that people had never even heard of until recently. People are starting to realize that these may be problematic to them, more so than just the glucose. It might not be just about the ketones. There could be other things going on. So anyways, you can find more at primaledgehealth.com. Sign up for the next Keto and Carnivore Collective down below. We're starting in about 2 weeks. We'll see you next time. So get off social media, get off the dang Facebook, close your freaking Facebook account, get away from the TV, get out there in that natural light that man didn't make, go live your life.
You get the call.